Let's talk about the Division 2.0 title update 2.0 and beyond, April 11th, 2019. If you want to follow along, this is a forums post by one of the community managers for the Division. Just looking at this, starting from the top, today we had a maintenance early this morning. There are patch notes on that. I'm going to take a look at that really quickly since there is a link to that. Good things in this maintenance. They fixed not being able to fast travel to the castle settlement. We actually had that issue. Fixed several cases of abnormal bounty boss skill use behavior. I haven't run into that. Fixed an issue causing Nemesis crafting materials to be unobtainable. I know that some people have had issues with that. Fixed Delta 3 error occurring at the end of conflict matches. I haven't played any conflict lately. Fixed an issue that would cause pathfinding line to behave abnormally when in close proximity to your destination. Well, look, everyone knows that waypoint things are drunk in every video game ever, okay? Fixed the donating sound. Repeat. I have absolutely had this issue. The donating sound playing repeatedly after having donated and abandoned a daily issue. Not only have I had that sound happen a lot, but I've also had a sound where when you craft something and you finish crafting it, it just continually repeat that sound. Fixed an issue related to cache countdown timers. I know they're going to change that, and that's actually in the April 11th update information, which I'll be getting to in a minute. Fixed an issue where specialization ammunition drop rate was lower than intended. Yes, after the Tidal Basin update, specialization ammo just went out the door. If you hear me say signature instead of specialization, it's because I can say the word signature a lot easier than I can say the word specialization. For some reason, I just have mush mouth, all right? Okay, now looking at and I can put a link to this post that I'm looking at here in the comments. Looking at the top of this, Project Exploit was fixed over the weekend. Projects were deactivated over the weekend in response to issues. We applied a fix on Monday, April 8th, and reactivated the projects without the need of maintenance. This was, I believe, in regards to people completing a project, getting the reward, logging out, logging back in, getting the reward, logging out, logging back in, getting the reward. And basically, there's YouTube videos out there of people repeatedly doing that. Of course, because you can never stop people from doing something stupid. They'll justify and rationalize it however they want. Well, it's in the game. It's not exactly, and that's an exploit right there. I mean, you'd have to be really stupid to think that's not an exploit. It's not a cheese, that's an exploit. And that's okay. You know, hey, do whatever you want. You paid for the game, get, banned. I don't give a shit. Anyways, and then be even stupider and put it on a YouTube video. Great. Well, we know exactly who did it. So that I also saw in some Discords that people were complaining, oh, they disabled the projects. And it's like, well, what do you want them to do? They didn't take the whole game down. They actually did it, while the game was up and running. So that's pretty good. Janza here, developer apologist by trade. I'm kidding. All right, let's move on. We will have an additional patch next week, patch 2.1, which will include the following changes. So this is not the changes that happened this morning, but next week. Crafting bench, looks like they're going to hopefully fix that. We have a fix for the bench not upgrading to World Tier 5. I have not had this issue. Neither has anyone in my tiny clan. And I have not read in any other Discords people having that issue, but apparently people have had that issue. So, hey, yeah, good that they're going to fix it. This will also fix the issue for players that have their crafting bench stuck in different world tiers. Great. Wonderful. Okay, next. Characters getting stuck. We have one fix for players getting stuck in the revive animation. Okay, so there's that. But whenever a player gets stuck, that's just a multitude of issues. It could be a ton of issues. It could be server issues. It could be client to server data issues. It could be the game itself with, you getting stuck on a piece of, of the environment. Who knows? That's a hard one. That's a huge catch-all. So they're looking into stuff like that. Revive Hive made first improvements with TU2. Another fixing coming to reduce more occurrences in 2.1. We'll apply more fixes in the future as needed. TU2 refers to Title Update 2. It's funny because title, Title versus Tidal Basin, title. Anyways, whatever. Okay. So I personally don't run the Revive Hive. I have never run. I think I ran it during beta. I do know one in the clan that actually runs it, and he has mentioned the Revive issues for quite some time. So I'm glad that will get fixed for people that use that. It's not a me thing, and that's okay. Next, True Patriot, the gear set, the green gear set that they dropped with Tidal Basin. Fix coming to address the 2-piece gear set bonus of True Patriot not working. Personally, I haven't used it. I don't even have I don't have a single complete set. I have like at most 5 pieces for the ongoing directive. I have like 2 or 3 pieces at most for True Patriot. I'm just not running to get that immediately. I can get that whenever. My thoughts about that are, I know how Massive works. Now, Massive being the developer, Ubisoft publisher, all right? So don't always use the word Ubisoft when you're talking about the developer. So I know how they work because I played The Division 1, and I saw how they continually made updates and changes and balances and fixes and patches till the game was dead. Okay, so I know this will get adjusted, so I'm not worried about that. You know, anybody running out there and playing True Patriot now and complaining that it sucks, good. Give them that feedback. They need to know. All right, next. In addition, we'd like to provide everyone with insight into some of the larger conversations happening across all social channels. Great. Henry Hayes. We re-escalated Henry Hayes not being available for some players. It's been a hard fix for us, and while some occurrences have been resolved, we continue to work on this. Henry Hayes is a character. I had to look this up. He's in, I believe, he's in one of the communities, the college campus, something like that. And I never had an issue with them, but I got lucky, I guess. You know, it could be also that this was an issue for people that played later than the launch day. Like maybe an update happened and screwed something up. That's generally how things happen with bugs. You know, that happened later than the launch day. Is something else came along, messed something up, probably is what it is. Or this could have been launch day and I just got lucky and didn't hear about it either. I don't troll when I say the word troll, I don't mean going around making, you know, messes of things and jokes. I mean, literally just kind of crawling or reading through stuff, you know. Troll has multiple uses. Anyways, worksite community. We made a mistake in communication. This will be fixed in TU3. Sorry for the confusion. I actually don't know what the hell they're talking about there. Worksite community. I'd have to look that up. Can look that up right now. Worksite community side mission. It's a side mission. There you go. So apparently that's broken and it's going to get fixed. TU3 meaning Tidal Update 3. So it's not coming this Tidal Update 2.1. I don't even know when TU3 is going to hit. So if you have a problem with that, apparently you're going to have to wait a while. This is a big one for me. Scarce specialization, aka signature weapon, ammo. We have deployed a fix for this issue during today's maintenance. Today being April 11th, and that was at 2:30 a.m. my time, which is CST Central. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a huge thing. When Tidal Basin hit, all the specialization, aka signature weapon, I'm just gonna say signature weapon from now, weapon ammo from now on, all of that just disappeared from the damn map. It just, I'd go out there by myself in a group, I'd see like one, maybe, after a few missions. It just disappeared. And you know what that made me do? Stop using my damn SIG weapon. But then the trick is, and everybody by this point hopefully knows that, let's go back to the White House. You can do one of two things. You can respec, or you can do the other thing that a buddy of mine in the clan told me is just go and activate another one. Like if you're doing the Grenadier, go activate the Survivor one, Survivalist, and then go back and activate your Grenadier again. You'll get all your ammo back. And honestly, when you log in and you don't have all of the SIG ammo that you had from before, that's a pain in the ass. I don't know why they decided that would be a good thing. You know, the same thing with when you go to I do on-call quite a lot. So whenever I go on-call, I lose whatever signature ammo I had. It feels like you're being punished. It doesn't make any sense, you know? Or if I log out, or if the game crashes. What? The game crashing? Say it doesn't so. Of course it crashes, you know? Now, I'm running DX11, and that's another story. DX12, while DX12 works really well, this is a side note, so I'm getting off the rail here. DX12 worked really well performance-wise. I had a ton of crashes with it. So I went back to DX11. And DX11 is solid, but I'm about 10 to 20 frames less than DX12 as far as the, that's concerned. And I usually get about 90 frames. I cap myself at 90 frames. I usually run around there. Okay, so back to scarce specialization ammo. Yeah, that whole system they need to look at. I do remember during the live stream they talked about making an adjustment to that anyway. So, okay, let's go back to the list. We're at 11 minutes here. T-poses. We're working on a fix for this, both for the bounty screen as well as the NPCs remaining in this position when you kill them, occurring more often since TU2. By more often, they mean 99 point... Okay, I'm being hyperbolic there, but quite a lot. And basically what they mentioned was if an enemy dies when your camera is not looking at that enemy, they have the chance to end up in this T-pose. And let's say I am going into a group that I need to teleport to or fast travel to, whatever you want to use. If you don't like the word teleport, oh, it's fast travel. Fine, whatever. They've killed a bunch of mobs. I spawn into that location. What'll happen a lot of the time is enemies will pop into the scene, almost literally. They'll drop on the ground and then they'll stand right back up in the T-pose. It's very funny, but at the same time, it also works as a line of sight issue. It gets in the way of targeting your enemies. You're then kind of really into this whole, where's my enemies actually at? So you have to rely on your radar quite a lot more. It's an odd thing. It's just very, very odd, and it really is a broken mess, and it needs to be fixed. This was not the issue this bad during launch. During beta, yes, there was an issue like that, but during launch, no. It was not like this. Launch felt very good. Gear, dropping below 500 gear score. Yeah, that's, I kind of assumed that this was their intention, that you're not going to get everything at gear score 500 because you didn't get everything at that same gear score in TD1. But what we're talking about here is, let's say you get an exotic, that thing drops, is below 500. That's kind of a disappointing thing. Let's say you get, for me in Urban MDR, I got a 499. I can live with the fact that that thing is never going to be 500. But at the same time, I'm like, come on, guys. A 486, 463. So a lot of the time I'm like 507, 508 until I get that perfect, roll on whatever. So, but I'm still getting stuff below, way below 500. Not only that, but I've heard from other people that they're getting drops, like legit drops from enemies that are over 500 or legit over 500, natural over 500 things in their caches. I have yet to see a single thing above 500. Shrug. I have no idea. Physically shrugging here. Underperforming gear sets is the next thing on the list. We appreciate the feedback on the green gear sets, but we want to give more time to play with the roles and discuss build opportunities. If the trend towards not using them continues, you can make changes to them. We do like the idea of gear setless builds to allow more build variety. I actually understand where they're coming from. There is not enough time out there for everyone to have figured out everything. I know gamers like to rush everything. Hey, I'm level 5, I'm max level and the game's been out for 2 days. You get that group and then you get the next group that's like, I'm max level and the game's been out for a week. And then you get the next group, I'm max level and the game's been out for 2 weeks, that kind of thing. That's fine. But at the same time, game development works on data acquisition, and data over time is really important too. So we'll see what happens. Basically, looking at Division 1, that's exactly the same way things happen there. Give it time, they'll make adjustments. They absolutely will change it. Next, underperforming exotic weapons. We want exotic weapons to feel strong and powerful, and we feel that some non-exotic weapons overshadow them. That being said, we would also like to hear more feedback about the exotic weapons. Which exotics feel weak, not as powerful? Why do they feel weak? Are there specific activities they feel weak in? Co-op, open world, PvP, etc. So give them your feedback, Give them your feedback. I personally have only used one exotic, the Liberty pistol. I have all the parts for the SMG Chatterbox. I just haven't gotten the blueprint. I am not pushing on everything. To me, I feel I play the way I want to. That's all. I'm not a YouTuber that is trying to put all the information out there first. I'm not a YouTuber that even is a person that considers myself a YouTuber. I kind of feel like I want to get my thoughts out there on these updates of the game. I wanted to do this last time this came out too, but I just didn't do it. I didn't have a mic stand for it. Okay, talents. We want to give you a heads up that we're looking at the performance of talents and have identified some that are too strong and some that are not popular because they are too weak. We will provide nerfs and buffs to talents in the upcoming patch. The goal here is to allow you to choose the talents you want to play without heavily increasing your time to kill. The changes to NPCs we're talking about below will help with this too. Okay. Very natural, very normal for them to make adjustments to talents. Things like Clutch, for example. You get health back on crit. I love that. I have no doubt that they're probably going to change that in some way to make it something that I can't use. They've already made adjustments to something, Safeguard, there's things out there that are really useful for kind of being a tank. And I kind of feel like they don't want tanks to be in this game. Although we'll talk about that later. That's at the end of this. Game difficulty. There's currently a bug with enemy AI being too aggressive due to them not acknowledging player hit points correctly. We are currently investigating this as a top priority issue. We're looking into balancing armor and survivability a bit, expecting these tweaks to be included in the PTS testing starting next week. We want to increase protection for players sprinting and going cover to cover so they take less damage in a future patch. Here, the goal is to make repositioning a viable tactical option. We agree that hard, challenging, and heroic mission NPCs can feel too spongy. We want to improve this and decrease the time to kill. We want to test this on the PTS next week, but we are still talking about the exact changes. We agree that control points in higher levels can feel too hard and that the NPCs can feel too spongy. We're talking about possible changes right now, and we'll have more news on that soon. Okay, game difficulty. Yeah, AI being too aggressive on all that. The biggest issue I'm having right now with game difficulty since Tidal Basin dropped is the fact that I can be running any kind of mission anywhere, solo, in a group, and I constantly run across, and I know this sounds like a weird thing to complain about, but I'm not complaining. This is information being given. I constantly run across enemies that are just staring at me. They're aiming at me. They're looking directly at me, but they're not firing. I know that should be like a dream, right? Oh, you're Neo. You made it into the Matrix and they can't touch you. But the reality is it makes for a cheap experience. So right now the AI reactions range from I'm going to stand here and stare at you to I'm going to charge at you, not fire while I'm charging at you, and then stand there, to I'm going to charge at you and destroy you. So there's almost no middle ground there. And if you could test it yourself, don't fire on enemies sometimes and see what happens. I did this in a group as well last night. I showed them. I was like, hey, look at this. So I ran up to some enemies that were charging at us, and I stood there, and they ignored me. So there's something there, and we probably don't see it as often. We're often firing first, right? It makes sense survivability-wise, fire first. But because I do a lot of movement, and I'm not always like trying to kill the enemy first before positioning properly. I notice these things. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems with the enemy AI. It's after Tidal Basin update. So I really hope that they make adjustments to this. As far as enemies being too spongy, I don't really have that issue too much. Granted, I have not played a heroic mission yet. I would imagine they are too spongy there. My assumption there is that they expect you to use your skills to things like, the chem launcher to strip their armor. Things like the Firefly to destroy, weak points. On challenging, I do challenging solo missions, bounties. And what I often find there in challenging is, with the goals, is to use their weak points against them clearly. You can stop a challenging enemy from rushing you by hitting its weak point backpack or side pack or breaking its armor. There's a lot of ways you can stop a challenging enemy from rushing you down. I actually feel that the gold challenging enemies should be rushing you down because they do know that they can kill you. And that's what they said in the live stream is the AI currently looks at their stats and they look at your stats and they're like, oh, we could roll this dude. Let's rush him. So that's what's going on. The AI's acting actually like human beings, That's what that's what you do as a human, right? In the DC, it's like, I'm going to kill that mother. So, rest assured, they are definitely making adjustments. That's how they always are. It's going to happen. Who knows when, though. PvP balance. We'll have Redstorm on State of the Game next week to discuss PvP balance and upcoming changes. Some of these changes can be tested on the PTS next week. Interesting. Okay, inventory management. Oh, yes. Inventory is a huge issue for me in every game. And I love that they're finally adding they're looking into. We know it's currently very difficult to track all of your items. You want to add more filtering options in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Filter, sort. Yes. We need it badly. For the mods, for the storage mods as well. The mods in the storage, in your cache, in your storage, it's a mess there. It's a mess. Anyway, okay. We want to know, we want you to recalibrate items from your stash. We want to allow you to recalibrate items from your stash. Yes, that is a key thing. If you have been recalibrating, the first thing that, I look at functional things and I was like, okay, here's your crafting station. Here's your recalibration station. Why is my stash over there? Do I have to go back and literally pick everything up, come back over here, go back over there? When you have limited inventory, you're just running back and forth. Why not at least put the stash right next to the stations? Or, like what they're saying here, they're going to let you recalibrate items from your stash. I'm like, oh man, thank you very much. That would be such a help. We don't think that salvaging talents will actually improve the situation, but rather move some of the pain points to other parts of the UI. I don't know the discussion going around that. I like the idea, though, of let's say you, I think I even mentioned it before to some guys in the clan, is it would be nice if you broke down an item and you could take the talent from it and store it. So that way you didn't have to store, But I think what they're saying is there is nowhere to do that right now in the user interface. And that would basically just be another box that you would stuff stuff into, and you would then keep stuffing stuff into the first box too, and you would essentially just still have the same issue. So there's a better solution that they need to look into. Okay, all right, good. Blueprints. We want to make them account-wide in the future. Unfortunately, I did not know about this because I only have one character right now. I need to make my second, third, and fourth characters. From a usability standpoint, as far as from a user experience standpoint, yeah, please do that. I really would hate not being able to just make whatever I want to on whatever character because I just didn't have to refarm that damn blueprint. Anyway, next, reset timers. We plan to consolidate everything to one timer unless there are specific reasons otherwise. Cool, great, wonderful, excellent. I don't care. That's good. That's fine. Next. Projects that require high-end items and not providing high-end rewards. We're looking into this and agree that it doesn't seem to be working correctly. Literally a high-end versus, like an orange, yellow item, a high-end item, not providing a high-end reward, instead getting a purple item. Got it. Okay, that's probably what they mean. Next, character appearance. I know there have been bugs and issues with the character appearance, people having their character appearance change. I think it's more on a console related issue that we're talking about here, but I have not had that issue. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean I'm negating the fact that it exists. Oh, it's definitely out there. I have been very lucky that I have not run into that issue. So let's look at what they're saying here. We will be working on an improvement for the barber, perhaps a different NPC that will allow you to customize your character further. While we do not want to talk about this, we also want to let you know that this is further out and is not something to come to the game anytime soon. Okay. We will allow you to change your character's sex. What? Bald hairstyle is planned. Red hair color is planned. Really? I thought this was going to be talking about bugs people were having where they log in one day and their character looks different. But they're talking about being able to change your agents. Who gives a Okay, I suppose. But then they're also bald hairstyle. That's a big. We got to put this on the list. And red hair color. All right, fair enough. You know what? Cool. It's coming. You wanted to be a toaster, you could be a toaster. All right. Unable to leave Dark Zone. If you go into a play session of a person that does not have the DZ intro stuff done, you're maybe gonna not be able to leave the DZ. Okay. Next, PC performance. We're having difficulties reproducing some of the issues players are reporting, so please send us more information. DX diag of your system. Be precise with details of performance issue is appearing. And NVIDIA will be providing new drivers that should help with the DX12 crashes. That's really good to hear because AMD is kicking their butt right now. All right. Lastly, we want to address some balancing concerns from the community with insight from the development team. Skill builds are underwhelming and require too much of an investment into skill power. That's an issue that they're bringing up here. Now, their answer to that is skills innately scale with level and world tier to always be relevant. Boosts to skills from skill power come in the form of mods where the player can pick their own improvements to the skills. We recently revamped the skill mods so that high-end and purple mods have reasonable requirements for mid-level to all in skill power builds. Okay. Essentially, they are going to look at being able to craft blue mods in the future, so you have things with lower requirements, and they're going to readjust the stats and the mods for the future to make things more viable. So basically, they're not done. That first pass they did was a nice big overhaul, but don't worry, they're going to be working on more to help things feel better overall. Okay. Moving on. Tank builds do not feel viable as armor and health don't seem to provide enough benefit and sustain. This is an interesting one to me because I'm very interested in tank builds. I would say in the sense that a more standardized role of a tank, meaning you take damage, you don't put out a lot of damage, but you are used as a crowd controller and aggro beacon, okay? But that doesn't really exist in this game. So their answer is to the statement that tanks don't feel viable, they agree. It's a complex issue to solve, but in the interest of transparency, here's our thought process. The way to take the least damage in the game is to kill everything that could do damage to you, so the player's damage output ends up also mitigating a lot of incoming damage that in that indirect way. Further, the faster you burst an enemy down, the less time you have to spend popped up from cover. Added to that, we didn't want to scale enemy health as much as their damage and harder content always to avoid as much of the bullet sponge syndrome as we could. And so damage output, again, gets another advantage over defensive stats when moving up in difficulty. In the upcoming patch, we'll overhaul a large amount of talents. Further, we want to increase the scale of defensive stats when they roll on gear, making each pick defensive roll much more impactful. Finally, we're looking at balancing, especially in higher difficulties, across the board to adjust both the lethality and time to kill on the enemies for a better experience with more viable build options. The changes to defensive stats and the further adjustment to skill mods, we hope, will also contribute to healing being a more valuable and efficient thing to do for your team. Okay, so quick story. So I was playing Destiny 2 and a while back, and at some point, I think I remember talking about like, you know what? I don't even care anymore about sustainability. I think that my goal is to just kill faster. That's going to be my defense. The best defense is to murder quicker. And that's basically what the Division developed. You know, that's what they're kind of on about too, is like, basically, if you kill quicker, you're not going to need to worry about like being, you know, getting hurt because there is no threat. While this is accurate, I think the problem that it presents is then why introduce something such as like the shield skill line? What's the point of even having any kind of, you know, tankability type of talents or ideas if they're not viable? And also thinking back at this being a looter shooter with touches of MMO type feel to it, and the fact that they're breaking down roles for players into like little slots, like this is a survivalist, this is a sniper, this is a grenadier. You know, and within those little subclasses, you have things like, if you are in cover, you get more, armor. There clearly is a want for them to give people roles, but at the same time, you can't just then ignore it and say, if you just kill things faster, you won't need to worry about damage. That's the quick way out. And if that's going to be the way that they want to think about it, that's fine. Unfortunately, we have all of these talents and gear pieces and mods and skill lines that suggest that there is a way to play that would benefit someone that is more paced in a tactical way. Sometimes I love playing that way. I love playing that way a lot, actually, where I'm not just rushing in and firing my weapon at everything that moves. That is an absolute good and viable way to play the video game. But sometimes I want to tactically think about how I am making my kills, because it gives me a good feeling when, I love it when a plan comes together. Versus like, let's rush in and kill every fucking thing that moves. That is a great way to play the game. In fact, you probably want to play that way in the DZ a lot too, right? But that's what it feels like on the surface level. Once you get past the surface level, you'll realize there's a lot of other little nuanced things that you can do. In fact, looking at all of the talents that could link in together, something like the clutch skill talent on your gloves, for example, that give you health back on crit. Well, if that gives you health back on crit, what about health regeneration boosting or incoming health, increased? Does that help based on that? Probably. So looking at those kinds of things and how they tie together, as well as like giving yourself higher crit chance and higher crit damage, something like that. Though, how do all those things link together, and how do they work together with your mods? Like I said, increased incoming health, for example, being an interesting one. Does that work with the clutch talent? I haven't actually tried it, but it's one I should try. Okay, this has not been a quick look. This has been my thoughts, though, and anybody that ever looked at my channel way back in the day when I had my original YouTube channel, you kind of know what to expect. This is what it is. If a video coming from me, it's not going to be 5 minutes, it's not going to be 10 minutes. Think of it more like a podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to anyone that expected a concise and short video. It's not going to be. But thanks for listening. Leave your thoughts about what you think about all of these changes, the future of the game. And honestly, don't leave them here. Leave them on the forums. Ask them on Twitter. Send it to them on Twitter. Give them that information there. Y'all have a good one.